Sometimes it's proper to exclude everyone. Well, most everyone. Let me explain. Stick around and we'll get right to it. Hey, welcome back guys. Jason, KM4ACK. This past weekend, I was attending a local Hamfest and I wanted to set up a Digipeater, but I didn't want that Digipeater to respond to basically anyone other than my packets. Now this video is going to explain why we would want to do such a thing, the setup and equipment that I used, and I'm going to show you how to configure the software. But let's get back to the story of this past weekend and the Hamfest. Basically what I wanted to do was I wanted to be able to get my packets out of the metal building that we were at and digipeated into a wide area gateway, or a wide area Digipeater rather. However, I didn't want the Digipeater to answer every other APRS station that was going to be there, because let's face it, when we get to a Hamfest, there's a lot of hams coming in and a lot of them run APRS. Well, I set the temporary Digipeater up in my truck using the truck's mobile radio. However, it was being powered by the truck's main battery, and I didn't want to come out at the end of the day and find that my truck wouldn't start because I'd used all of my battery power digipeating all of these packets. So I wanted to limit this to where it would only respond to my packets. Now, other use cases for this would be maybe you're setting up a temporary Digi for some sort of an event, kind of like the parade that we do each December here in my hometown. And there are several reasons that you might want to limit how much your Digipeater is going to answer to. Two primary concerns are A, it saves battery power, because if you're only answering packets from your group, well, it's not going to transmit it much, and that's going to save you battery power. In addition, you're going to create a whole lot less network congestion because you're not going to be repeating packets other than those exactly which you want to digipeat. So exactly how does this work? Well, normally you guys are probably familiar with a path called wide 1-1, or you might be running wide 1-1 wide 2-1, and that just indicates the number of hops that your packet is going to take when it gets into a Digipeater. Well, in this instance, we're going to change that path, and the Digipeater is only going to answer to TEMP1-1. Now, most all of the APRS radios out there will allow you to run a custom path. So setting up TEMP1-1, wide 1-1 in almost all of the radios is possible. So we're not really excluding anyone. If they know the path to use, they can use our Digipeater as well. And as long as everyone in your group is running the TEMP1-1 path, they'll all go through your Digipeater without any issues whatsoever. So let's head over to my truck, take a look at the equipment I used, and how I configured this Digipeater. So the reason I wanted to use my truck is because it would take the least amount of equipment to get a Digipeater up and running. Now I've got the TEMP500 in the front of the truck, and I just went ahead and turned off the APRS modem on that radio. You'll see right here in the back seat, I've got a MobiLink TNC4 that I'm going to use. And then we've got the battery pack. This is the Anchor battery pack that I really enjoy. And then we've got the laptop that we're going to use. Now, let's go ahead and jump over to the laptop screen so you can see exactly how I set this up. Okay, so after you've got your sound card, whether that's a MobiLink or a DigiRig or whatever other sound card you might want to use, after you've got that configured, go ahead and open up Yak. Let's go up to File, Configure, and Expert Mode. And guys, this is possible to do with Direwolf, just running Direwolf alone, but this was kind of quick and dirty for me, and it was easiest to use Yak to make this happen. Once you're inside of here, you want to come over to the Digipeat page. And right here under this tab, you want to make sure that this TEMP1-1 is enabled and Trace is enabled. You also want to verify that wide 1-1 and 2-2 are all unchecked. That will make it so your Digipeater will only respond to packets with the correct TEMP1-1 path in it. Now, also under ports right here, we need to go into whichever sound card you're using. In this case, I'm using the serial TNC that's connected to that MobiLink TNC4, and I'm going to edit that. Under this tab here, you want to come right down here to this section, which is the Digipeat for port. Now, in my case, I left both TEMP1-1 and WIDE1-1 enabled. And I always leave those enabled. That way, if I choose to run this as a WIDE1-1 Digi, then I don't have to come in here again and change this. It's not going to answer that WIDE1-1 path as long as you've got it limited in the Digipeat tab. But once you get both of those tabs configured, your Digipeater will now answer to anyone running the TEMP1-1 path. And I'll go ahead and overlay a couple of screenshots that I captured from APRS.fi showing you how my HT that was running on low power digipeated through the truck's Digipeater and got out to the wide area Digipeater in our area. This made it possible for me to not only get my position packets out, but I also was able to send and receive messages while we were inside that metal building at the Hamfest. Now, if you're going to set up a temporary Digipeater, one other thing you want to pay attention to is the beacon tab. In my case, I did not use GPS, although using GPS would be fine. But if you're not using a GPS, just make sure you check this box right here that says Enable the Station Beacon Type. And you want to be sure that you have set up your latitude and longitude right here in this line. I chose the Digi symbol to display on the map, and then I used this right here as my comment so that anyone looking at the map would know that this is a TEMP1-1 Digi and that it doesn't include any iGate capability. Now, before we wrap this up, let me show you guys how to configure a custom path on a radio. In this particular case, I'm using the Yaesu FT5, but it's going to be very similar on all of the other radios. I'm going to go ahead and go into the menu. We'll go into the APRS menu, and then on the FT5, we need to scroll down to item number, I believe that's 18. Yeah, 18, where it says DigiPath. Let's go ahead and click on that. Now, Yaesu gives you several different ones that you can preset. So normally I'm running on P3, which is WIDE1-1, WIDE2-1. And that's pretty much what everybody is going to run on in a normal situation. But in this case, I also have P4 right here. And P4 I have programmed to be TEMP1-1, WIDE1-1. And that way, if my Digi hears it, my temporary Digi, it will digipeat it once, and it will leave the WIDE1-1 in the path so that it gets digipeated one more time when it hits that wide area Digipeater. And there you have it. Now you know how to run a TEMP1-1 Digipeater and why you might want to do so. If you found today's information helpful, be sure to give us a thumbs up before you head off. We will see you guys on the next one. Until then, 7-3.